there was quite a heated discussion on the FC crew. Take a listen.
Erling Haaland in a poor way whatsoever is just a celebration and an elevation of Lionel Messi and certainly his performance in the World Cup. And I'm with Xhaka. People will have their own personal opinions as to what the importance of the World Cup is. To me, it still remains the most important competition in the world. Much more important to me anyways than Champions League and a league campaign as well. And so when it comes to this particular award, if you need to separate great from great, which is what we're doing here, we're trying to separate great from great, I think you need to find some reasons. And the reasons to me is very clear. Lionel Messi was the best player for the best team in the World Cup, and therefore he deserves this award.
Mario.
No, I agree. You guys highlighted already. I think when we start the game of playing football, everybody can tell you so many different things. But one thing is the get-go that we all focus on as individuals is representing your country. When you represent your country, you wear a jersey. We sometimes make jokes about it and say it weighs a lot. It's very heavy. Why is it heavy? Because you have the pride of the country on your shoulders. And I think when you go to the set you apart in winning that. So when you start your football career, you think only about that. For the ones who didn't win it, including myself, I dream of playing for my national team and then winning it. He won it. And that does not take away from guys, I repeat it, Champions League and all them are great tournaments, and you want to be part of that. Because I think any footballer, you understand, when you experience that, all tunes that you hear at the start of the Champions League, but when you hear the national anthem of your country play, I can tell you, you get chills through your body because you know you have to perform. And he won it. And that's why he's one of the greatest. Or the greatest at the moment, because there's no one else that did what he did.
Spoiler alert, he won't win it next year.
Oh.
So who will? That's the question. That's an exciting question already, lad. So we've got three men, we reckon. Mbappe, Haaland, Bellingham. Remember, it's the Euros in the summer. So is it just a case as whichever country wins the Euros, if it's France or England, that will define who will pick it up, do you think, Jules?
It will have a big impact, of course, like the boys said it was with the World Cup. But again, let's remind everyone that this is not an award for who the best player at the World Cup was over 7 games. This is an award over the whole calendar year. So from the start of 2023 until the end of the votes in October, sometimes in October. This is not just on the World Cup. If you've been the best at the World Cup over 7 games, that doesn't give you the Ballon d'Or. Same with the Euros, same with the Olympics, same with anything you want, really. So this has to be clear. Messi won it. He's the greatest player of all time. We know that. There will be a debate over is winning the World Cup and being very good on those 7 games better or harder than over the whole season in a league or in a Champions League campaign. This is a very interesting debate, I think. And for next year, of course, the Euros would have a big impact on it. If Bellingham wins it and shines with England, if Mbappe wins it, if Musiala wins it with Germany, I don't know, whoever does, a Spanish player, whatever, it will have a big impact. But let's not forget as well that the whole calendar year matters very much as well in the way people are voting for the Ballon d'Or.
Doesn't matter that much, Jules, does it?
Yeah,
I think it really matters that much.
But hey, Messi, was Messi very good in Paris? Be honest.
Jules has forgotten that it existed
you mean outside
in
of the World
Paris.
Cup?
Yeah, outside of
No,
Messi is the greatest
honest.
player. But in Paris, what we have seen over the whole time of Messi in Paris is not the shine that we are used to seeing of him. Because in Barcelona, what he did, boom. No one can talk about that. What he did for Argentina at the World Cup, no one can talk about it. But in Paris, he said it himself too. It was difficult for him.
No, for sure. But listen, I'm well done to Messi. He deserves it. Like Eden Hazard said, it's logical that he wins it. No problem. But if you just take the World Cup just for a moment, just slightly outside of it, and it's very important because it's the World Cup, of course. But if you take it out, Erling Haaland had a better year than Lionel Messi, overall. Even when Messi was in Paris, and certainly more than since Messi went to America, to Inter Miami. There's just no doubt. Of course, the 7 games in the World Cup, a competition that Haaland didn't play in, makes a big difference. Of course it does. But I was just saying that the Ballon d'Or is also on the whole calendar year, not just this is not the best player of the World Cup award. It's not that. So in a way, Ali is saying he was the best player for the best team at the World Cup, so he deserves the Ballon d'Or. This is not true. He didn't win the Ballon d'Or just because of the 7 games in the World Cup. Or certainly he should not win it, because again, it's on the whole calendar year.
Okay, Janusz, just open it up to you. Where do you stand on that debate?
I mean, look, I think, Jules' argument is good. I mean, if not now, when for Haaland, right? When you win a treble and you score that many goals, what needs to happen? As we know that he will not win the World Cup probably in his career, right? It's pretty safe bet. What I would disagree is that let's take, for me personally, let's take the World Cup slightly away. I'm just not having it, and there are times where I could, but not this sort of World Cup that Leo Messi had. Not this sort of pressure that's been over his on his shoulders throughout his career. The comparison to Diego Armando Maradona, the comparison to everybody, even Pelé, if you want to do it. The pressure was so immense for him. And this wasn't just any World Cup. I mean, here's a man with all of that, right? Who scored twice in group stages, who scored in every knockout stages, and who scored in the final. This wasn't just any World Cup. For me, a World Cup is a defining moment, just like some of my other colleagues have said. But this was, I can't even imagine, that pressure, knowing also that this will likely be his last World Cup. If he didn't do it then, and his numbers weren't all that bad, it's won trophies, other than the World Cup as well. And I look back at Robert Lewandowski, because that season, remember, was cut short. He would have probably won it. He didn't. Then I think in 2020, obviously there was no Ballon d'Or. And then after that, Lewandowski scored like 62 goals on that season, more even than Haaland. And he's lost by, 20, 30 votes to Messi as well. So, look, this has been around in this. But overall, in the end, I still add to it for me, because there are no defined rules really in this Ballon d'Or. For me, I just have to look at him as a player, and he's just a better player. I know people will push back. It's about the trophies, what you win. I get it, but there's been a lot of great goal scorers. For me, it has to be more. Be more. And for those that say that it's not just about the 7 games in a World Cup, I can almost get it, with the exception of this particular World Cup, because I don't know if we're going to see another one for many, many years like it, with the sort of pressure. The greatest player already before that, he would have been considered probably 2 as one of the greatest, but he just defined himself in that one. And he says, you know what? There's only 3 or 4 players in his and my lifetime, and yours, I bet, that are going to be like that. Where you go by one name. You go Pele, Messi, Maradona, and Cristiano. I hope he goes by that, because Ronaldo,
tough.
You can always have a little bit of an argument there, right? It doesn't just Ronaldo, So I think that was a defining moment to crown a legend, maybe of legends. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't look at that as just 7 days and just another World Cup. It wasn't.
I agree with you. And here's what I think. This is a little bit of sports is a reflection of society. And in society right now, everything is binary. You got to be one side or the other, left, right, blue, red, blah, blah, blah. Both things can be true at the same time. Both guys, the caption says, did Messi deserve to win? Yeah, he deserved to win. Did Haaland deserve to win? Yeah, he deserved to win. So let's go into the structure of how they actually vote on these things. It's one journalist per country for, I think, like 100 or some countries. What factors into that, when one person's representing the entire nation, essentially, what footballing journalists think about this, nostalgia plays a factor. Your heart and emotion plays a factor. We're human beings. This is seeing Messi at that level win that World Cup, to your point, in that final, which I think I'd argue that's the greatest sporting event I've ever seen, that final in that way, and for his team to prevail in the end, given how that all went down. For him to win that carries a lot of weight. But to your point, 38 goals, 25 assists, 2 other trophies that weren't the World Cup. If he didn't play the rest of the season for PSG, and then people wouldn't care. Like, it wouldn't matter. Now, I know he had issues there, and some of those trophies are about Inter Miami, and those can be written off as well. But he still was playing the game and playing at a very high level, won in a top 5 league in Europe, also in the Champions League. one in the MLS, which is obviously a step down. But the World Cup was the difference maker, and they both can be deserving. And I think in the end, there is a heart-wrenching piece of it. There's an element of us being humans that want to see Messi get that ball for the 8th time and walk off. And that's what happened. And I do think if Haaland was a little older, if Haaland was 31 at the end of his career and put up all these crazy numbers, it's a different discussion. He's 23, I think. So he's going to be there. And I would pose that next thought to you there, as Dan threw this out there. Bellingham, Mbappe, and Haaland, all with similar odds as you saw, between 3.5 to 4.5 to win it this upcoming year. Is this the passing of the torch to those three, at least to this next year? And then, I mean, with all those guys sub 25, it could be the foreseeable future.
I think so, because I think, they're if you look at them, they're superstars in the making. The differentiation will be, because in the past, it was always Cristiano, Messi. I mean, there was an unbelievable history. There were legends. So part of it is like being a veteran. You've done it already. You've won it so many times, and yet you continue doing it. So I think when you vote, you go with that in the back of your mind. Oh, but this is Messi. This is Cristiano. Whereas here, it's a clean slate, isn't it, to some degree? Mm-hmm. Because you have all these young players, because they're all very, very young. And I think, obviously, there's no World Cup, although I do think that the European Championship may have to decide about this, because look at the start they're already in. Look at the seasons they're having. They're all scoring at will, 10, 11, 12 goals. Everybody's there, right? I mean, we'll get to him in a second, I suppose. But, I don't know if I put Harry Kane in there, but I wouldn't dismiss him. I would also probably, an outside looking in, because the season he's having and because of what's ahead, I think Lautaro Martinez may be within the shout there, because he's having a great great season. I think Inter will be in the conversation for the Champions League, just like they were last season. And isn't there Copa America next summer too?
Yes, it's in the States too.
So Lautaro could, we're talking European, let's not be European snobs here for a second, just for a second. But this would be big if Argentina wins this, and say Lautaro Martinez, with the help of Leo Messi, is the star of that tournament. So I would throw him in there. But I think, just looking at that, I think, again, I feel for Haaland. Maybe it may be decided between Kylian and Mbappe and Jude Bellingham, because you have to feel that both France and England again will be kind of favorites to win the European Championships. But I think if Erling Haaland repeats or is very, very close, say they win the Premier League and they win the Champions League, and he continues to give the numbers, I think for what didn't happen this year, it'll happen to him next year.
That's right. I mean, we're having this discussion in November 1st, and how the season plays out has a huge impact on this. And also expectations of your individual club and how you perform in league matter. PSG is expected to win the title, and that they almost don't get credit for that. Same thing with Bayern. Bayern's expected, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Bayern's expected to win the Bundesliga for the 55th straight time, it feels like. They don't almost get credit for that. But if they make a run to a Champions League final, if they win the Champions League, and to your point, if Kane is outstanding within that run and in the run in league play, this whole equation is different. Mbappe the same way at PSG. I don't think that's exactly going to happen with them in the Champions League, but I think those same things play out, those factors. And where Haaland has the biggest upside, we're not playing in a European Championship. Norway, I don't think it's completely eliminated, but it's very, very unlikely that they're going to make this, is the fact that they do play in the best league, the most difficult watched league in the world. And if they have a fight down the stretch with Arsenal and or Liverpool, and maybe even Spurs, and they prevail, and he is outstanding down that run again like they were last year, and they run to the Champions League final and win that again, that I think can carry enough weight to outsize not playing in in the Euros or in the Copa America, given how everything has to play out. All those factors, I think, come into this and give us a real context, whereas right now we don't have that context.
No, but what we have is a fresh start, that clean slate I was talking about, because this is outstanding. Cool. Look, I mean, it's far away, because we've been saying now for a number of years, we're saying, my goodness, what's it going to be now with Ronaldo and Messi kind of leaving?
Yeah, it's been 15 years, I think, 16 years between one of the two. Right. It's wild.
And but history teaches us that there's always somebody, and there was Pele and Diego Armando Maradona. I mean, Johan Cruyff was always a player that probably didn't get enough credit. I mean, how do you look at Beckenbauer as a defender? I mean, he was a massive name, great player, but as we know, defenders have a hard time in winning these sort of awards as well. So I think this is positive. This is great because, I don't know if they're going to reach the heights of, say, Cristiano Ronaldo and Leo Messi. But if you look at Mbappe right now, for me, he's the best player at this moment. And again, that's why I look at it differently. Titles are important, and that's why I said I would have been okay if Haaland wanted, because he certainly proved it, winning these amazing titles and scoring and playing an important role. Remember, I mean, he was already doing that in the Bundesliga as even younger player than he already is, scoring at will. So this is not just a one-season wonder for him. But I look at somebody like Kylian Mbappe and think to myself, I have to pick one player right now, and you're not including, of course, the Messis or Messis and Ronaldos. I just think I go with Kylian Mbappe. So we'll see what happens.
I can't really argue with that because, again, if what you have done matters. He's already won a World Cup. It wasn't the past one. It was the one before that. He's already played the Champions League final. He's been in another World Cup final. So Mbappe, he's been integral.
This is a young man that scored a hat-trick in a World Cup of said World Cup that Leo Messi did amazing things in those 7 games, right? So I think, as you've said, he's already won a lot of trophies. He's going to continue to do it, and it's just a question of, how he navigates his career, right? Because his next step is going to be super important. Because if he does go, say, to Real Madrid, that in itself guarantees you the highest titles. The Champions League that evades him right now. So. Yeah, I mean, we'll be here talking about Haaland, Mbappe, and Jude Bellingham, who's is already at that big club and seems to be able to carry the weight of that shirt.
Yeah, no doubt. He did it again this weekend to many's shock.
Give him a shout, Vinny.
Vinny's in the Then these guys again are all very young players. Thank you to Jude Bellingham for the late goal. That paid me quite a bit of money.